Shannon, Mike, thank you, miigwech, for being here. Shannon, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, miigwech. Wawa take go kindigo. Nagiging sa manikaning nindonji. Nagignin dotem. Gani gana shkang Anishinaabemowin. So my English name is Shannon King. I am of the Otter Clan. My community is Nagignin in Treaty 3. And my title, Gani gana shkang Anishinaabemowin, loosely translates into me representing the language work being done at Seven Generations Education Institute.
And Mike, thank you as well for being here.
Hi, thanks for having me. My name's Mike Parkhill. My friends call me Jingwak, which is white pine in Anishinaabemowin because I'm tall and I'm white. I'm non-native, but I'm very respectful of the language and the importance that the language means, the ancestry to the Anishinaabe people.
Well, to start us off here, can we? I think we should just start simple. And what is waking up Ojibwe? I'll kind of leave that open to the both of you.
Do you want to start, Mike?
Yeah. Waking Up Ojibwe is the name of the project that's funded by the Ministry of Education. And it's a combination of 8 school boards have contributed into this program. And what we're doing is building out resources and programs and trying to get community-based language activities that actually work. And once we get those established, we then go out to the other 7 school boards in Northern Ontario to get them to propagate what we've already learned and what we've developed. Everything we do on wakingupojibwe.ca, and Shannon will talk about that shortly. Everything we do is editable, so anyone can use it in their own area and customize the material to fit their own way of speaking. But in a nutshell, we want to get people speaking 20 hours a week for 3 years so that they become conversationally comfortable and they can pass that language on at that point to community members and future generations.
Well, Mike, you just mentioned the 20 hours a week. Where did that number come from, and how did you guys settle on that number?
That's just a generally accepted number. I read it probably 15 years ago. I can't cite the source, but it seems to be consistent with the French language and other languages that are taught around the country.
Well, and Shannon, I'll jump to you here. How and when did this idea come up for the program, and who can use your resources?
Well, I was brought on in 2017. And so, Mike Parkhill, Say It First, had been working with Seven Generations for a number of years, gathering data, working with communities, kind of building momentum towards this partnership with the Ministry of Education and the Rainbow District School Board. And so I came on, and really my job turned out to be just kind of engaging with community, finding out what their barriers to learning their language were, things that they were using that they found useful, listening to some of their suggestions and implementing those. And so taking, that feedback from the community, from the educators, met with elders, youth, leadership, and families, just listening to what they felt might help them in their language learning journey, and then applying that into their programming.
And now, again, this question is could be open to either of you. Why is this program so important, one? And then maybe a second part is, why is it so important in general that we keep Indigenous languages alive?
I'm going to default to Shannon on that one.
I think programs like this that are centered around reclaiming our own language are very important. There's a healing process when reclaiming our language. So many things that were done intentionally and unintentionally to take the language away. And so it's an empowering and decolonizing for those who are actively trying to do that, movement and activity that you can do to really get to know who you are. Also, learning any language, but your own language, helps connect you back to that worldview. So now you get to see the world through our ancestors' eyes. You know what I mean? There are a lot of ways that our language interacts with the world around us that isn't the same as English, right? So then it changes your worldview, and then it changes your approach to the world ahead of you.
And Mike, I know I done a story, we were talking off camera, I done the story a couple of years ago originally, and it's been a few years since then. So I wanted to ask you, what sort of changed or expanded maybe in the few years since the story aired, and what sort of resources have you guys added, if you will, to the program?
All right, thanks. We continue to build out language kits, and it's called scaffolded learning. So if we learn something in grade 2, in grade 3, we take what we learned in grade 2 and we can expand on it and just continue to expand as time goes on. That's been an important change, because when we first talked, we just were putting up as much content as we could because there was such a lack of content. But now we've actually got a strategy, a pedagogical strategy around releasing it. And we've got a teacher that's working on our team, Carissa Kopanis. She's making sure that everything is going to be used in a classroom. We can't force anyone to use our material, but we do have 85 teachers that have signed up and are now learning it and using our material on a daily basis. And this goes from like Toronto District School Board, Grand Erie. We've got some in the U.S. and the 8 northern school districts, York Region District School Board. There's a lot of people now that are using it that didn't have access to that information. The average language teacher spends about 2.3 hours a day creating their own content for the next day's lessons. And what we're trying to do is ease that burden on those teachers to attract teachers to come into the profession that are speakers. And we also want the ones that are there to be satisfied with their work and not, chewed up and spit out sort of thing. So we want them to continue working, and this is how we're doing it. We're trying to give them their 2.3 hours a day back.
So then
we've also, sorry, I'm going to interrupt you. COVID caused us to change paths quite a bit. A lot of our programming up until COVID was face-to-face, and then COVID presented that opportunity, and I hate calling it an opportunity because so many people had to perish and suffer as a result. But we ended up creating a learning platform that we just launched at the end of January. And it's very kinesthetic learning. So if you can see it, touch it, taste it, feel it, or hear it, you can learn it better. So we've got a lot of components built in, like text to speech, so we can actually type in words and the computer will speak back to you. We had to program an avatar, 37 different mouth placements to accommodate the Anishinaabemowin language. So now we've got the text-to-speech integrated to an avatar, so somebody can actually start, I'd say within 3 months, they can start making skits of different avatars speaking to each other, and then they can learn the language through watching people speak. So we're just continuing to enhance that. This learning platform I'm talking about was developed by second language speakers. It's like everything Shannon and I do. It's all community driven. We went to second language students and said, what do you need? And they said, we need a second language speaker teaching us, because they say all the words and all the sounds, and a first speaker sometimes glides words together and it confuses us. So we had a bunch of second language speakers that came out of our adult Anishinaabemowin class. They do about 30 hours a week for 3 years. We hired the best of that class, and they've developed this learning platform. So the order in which you learn word parts, how you learn them, all the messages that go, as Shannon talked about with the worldview, all that is built into the learning software. But the most important thing is there's no right way or wrong way to speak, because I think in the past there's been failure, people hanging on to words or their dialect. And we're just teaching one dialect, but we're giving everyone the opportunity to customize it in their own way of speaking in their own communities or households.
Well, that sounds super cool and super awesome and a great resource to have for so many people. Shannon, I'll come to you, and maybe is there plans for, I don't know if expand is the right word, but where do you guys see this going in the future?
So Mike mentioned, hiring some learners from the last cohort. And so there's a program that incentivizes adults to learn language and in hopes to connect them back with their language and maybe they want to continue a path or a career. A lot of the programs that we have are geared towards lifelong learning. Start from high school, we work with families. There's lots of different ways we try to incentivize learning, help lessen the burden of living in a Western world while learning language. And so my hope is that we continue this momentum, and it now gets taught in our schools right from kindergarten all the way, giving that opportunity into high school, and then back into our homes, and so that there's more spaces and places that we hear language that we can practice. And Mike had mentioned second language learners teaching, and the good thing about that is they teach and then it solidifies their learning. Also, they have an understanding of what it's like to be an adult and learning this language, and but never to replace that relationship with our fluent speakers. So just to kind of build that confidence in at least knowing or having a small foundation to have that conversation, and then move towards feeling confident, because there's something with us learners and fluent speakers. We really want to make them proud. We want to show them how much that we care for the language. We want to show them our appreciation for keeping the language all throughout our history in order for us to have it. And so that's kind of what building that confidence with another second language learner is really helpful, so that when we do approach a fluent speaker, if we're feeling a little anxious, because as adults too, we have a hard time making mistakes, and so we pull that with us. So that's my goal, that's my long term, is that they're not just programs anymore. They're actual environments and situations and homes that have language, and that we open our people's eyes up into the world of language learning. They're a very helpful, humble, loving group of people who are really just dedicating their lives to honoring the hard work and resilience of our ancestors in keeping our language and keeping our knowledge within that language.
Well, it's really well said, Shannon. And just before we let the two of you go, everything is completely free online, right? I just wanted to make sure that our audience knew that. That's completely free online?
Yeah, so wakingupojibwe.ca is our website, and so that's where we have books that you can print off. There's read-along videos with the books, all read by a fluent speaker in Anishinaabemowin. We have language kits, as Mike had mentioned, and within those kits there are teacher tools, so a learning toolkit, but also feel free to use those resources in any way. And the other part about alleviating some of those extra hours for teachers is that we really appreciate feedback. So if a family has utilized the kit or has tried to utilize a kit and they want to provide us with feedback, we're really receptive and welcoming to that. And we've had other nations ask to use our resources in their languages, and we're really grateful that they were able to find some use in that as well.
Well, that all sounds super encouraging, and the work you guys do is just amazing work. So again, what you guys do is just great, and we'll have to leave it there. But Shannon, Mike, thank you guys so much for joining us, Miigwech, and I hope we can chat again soon.
Miigwech, Darrell.
Miigwech, Darrell.